All right, I want to talk about what happened in the Wagner versus Bryant game because this was wild. So, for a lot of small conferences, like really small conferences, they don't have their conference tournaments at one central location, like the Big Ten or the Big 12 or the Pac 12, or most conferences have it at a central location. But for the really small ones, they don't have it at a central location. They just have the higher seeded team host. So the NEC is one of those conferences where the higher seed hosts. So the conference championship ended up being Bryant and Wagner. You want to bed?
Yes.
All right, good night.
Good night, honey.
Okay, anyway. So, now, if you're wondering how many students go to Bryant, 3,000 students go to Bryant. That's as many as my high school. So, their stadium is not big at all. Their stadium only seats 2,000 people. Okay. This game was the biggest game in the history of the Bryant Bulldogs. Because they've never made an NCAA tournament. Never made an NCAA tournament. So, obviously, the game that can send them to the NCAA tournament would be the biggest in school history. They played in this game last year at home and lost to Mount St. Mary's, but there was no one in the stands because of COVID. No one in the stands. So their stadium seats 2,000 people. It's literally a high school gym. If you look at it, it's a high school gym. My high school gym is bigger than that stadium. And this place was packed to the gills. Every single seat was taken. There was standing room only. That place was as packed as you can get. And one half, it was just like this. This is all the stadium is. One half of the stadium was, like usually when you have a stadium, you have one section that's the student section. The whole half of the stadium was white out with just crazy students. So, half of the stadium is the student section, which was just wild. I mean, the Bryant the student section showed up. I think almost every student was at the game. Like 1 in every 3 students were at the game. For reference, that'd be the equivalent of like, I don't know, just all you gotta know is that it was packed. It was so packed. Well, so they got the whole area behind both benches. It's all just white out fans. I hope you guys find that somewhere if you haven't already. But then, at the end, there's a section of Wagner fans, and I think they looked like Wagner students. They had signs. The Wagner brought a little section of fans with them to the game, so they had their own little area next to the bench. So I'm like, wow, look at this record. I picked Wagner. If I would have known there was going to be that environment at the game, I would have picked Bryant. But okay, so the game starts. It's time for them to actually play the game. And it's not even close from the moment the game starts. Wagner made the first basket to make it 2-0. So Wagner was up 2-0 after the first bracket. After the first basket. With 2 minutes left in the first half, it was 38-6. They were up. This game was not even close. It was one of the most dominant games. It was 38-12 at halftime. It was embarrassing. It was just embarrassing for Wagner. They got beat down the whole game. And obviously the crowd is just as loud as ever. They know, they can sense from like the moment the game started, they're going to win and they're going to go to the NCAA tournament. Now, Since this stadium is built like a high school stadium, I'm going to describe this how like a high school game normally goes. If it's like a high-profile game, you'll have your two student sections. Now, one is like 20 times bigger than the other in this case, but that's not fine. Usually, during those types of games, there's a little bit of jawing going between fans. There's, like, I was, like, when we played Munster in our high school sectional championship, they were beating us pretty badly. Not this badly, but they were beating us. And you could hear, like, we were farther away, but you could hear everyone, "You guys suck! Stay blah, blah, blah." They just were taunting. And, I mean, yeah, there's going to be a trash talk between student sections, right? So, with like 4 minutes to go in the game, by the way, the score with 4 minutes to go was 68-32. So this game's over. And what I'm imagining happened, I don't know exactly what happened, but if I had to take a guess, I'm guessing this is what happened, is that the Bryant fans got the jaws running. They started talking their shit. They started just going at it. That's what I am imagining happened. And they're right next to the like. It's fine to talk shit when you're like, there's like distance between you. When you're like the other side of the stadium, when you're right next to each other, and you're talking all that. You're talking that noise. Someone's bound to say something, and some of the Wagner fans got up, and they were like, they started getting all tough, like, "What you gonna do about it? Put your dukes up." And there was a full-on brawl in the stands, not between the players. The players didn't do anything. The players just kind of sat there not doing anything, but the fans were going at it. If you find the video, and just look up Wagner versus Bryant student section fight. There was one guy who didn't have a shirt on, and he was on his buddy's shoulders. And there was another guy with a USA basketball jersey. And they both, with the Wagner fans at the front, they just started swinging, man. They just with no regard for human life. There were cans being thrown. There were beers being thrown at people. The guy in the USA basketball jersey that I was talking about, he got popped in the face, bam, by someone from Wagner. It was bad. They said the game was delayed for like 30 minutes. It was bad. It was a bad scene. I mean, they just were going at it, just with no regard for anything. And then, by the time they had this all sorted out, they kicked all the Wagner fans out. Like, when they finally resumed play, there were no fans in that section. They kicked all the Wagner fans out. Because even if the Bryant fans were, talking their shit, you kind of have to just let them. You can't really go up there and do anything about it. I mean, I don't know exactly what they said, but yeah, it was wild, man. It was wild. It was, they were going at it, man. Bad luck for both schools, though. Not the actual teams, since the players just are. Also, Wagner's coach was wearing a jersey. Like, most coaches just wear, like, a polo with, like, their team logo on it, or, like, a suit or something, or, like, a sweatshirt. Their coach was wearing a jersey. I was like, why does this player look like he's 48? Oh, that's their coach? It was wild. Now, I'd imagine there's going to be some arrests. Now, the guy with the shirtless guy, the guy with the USA jersey, they didn't kick him out. I saw him, like, in the game. They rushed the court, too. Bryant rushed the court after they won. I mean, obviously, come on now. But it was wild, man. The crowd was rocking the whole game. But yeah, man, they got into a fight. That was wild. It was... Here, I'm going to look at the footage, like, right now. Or, actually, no, I lost it. Never mind. Yeah, Bryant was a 3-point favorite. They won by 37. Wow. I will say, the turnout for the Bryant student section was nuts. Now, I know it doesn't look like that many people, but there's only 3,000 people that go to that school. There was at least 1,500 students there. Like what a like it was wild. Gonzaga St. Mary's. Dude, I swear the Vegas odds makers are time travelers. They have to be. Spread for this game was Gonzaga 12.5. They won by 13. The people that make the odds for Vegas, the odds makers for Vegas are time travelers. Do not gamble. Just don't. Because they know what they're doing. Thoughts on Bellarmine? Yeah, Bellarmine got their dub against Jacksonville State, but they can't play in the tournament because of the waiting period. That's, yeah, we don't know what we're doing. So now Jacksonville State gets to go. They won the regular season. I'm surprised with all the score at the end. They didn't end the game early. You can't really end the game early. Like that's just something you can't do. You can't end the game with 4 minutes to go. I know the game was over. But you just can't do that. That's just not an option to end the game that early. You just can't do that. Yeah, but Gonzaga won, St. Mary's won. Here's another one. The Horizon League Championship was a thriller. Horizon League Championship. I mean, that game was back at Wright State in Northern Kentucky. Wright State had a big lead at one point. They were up. Wright State was up by 14 with 11 minutes to go. And Northern Kentucky crawled all the way back, took the lead in the final minutes. And then what ended up happening was Northern Kentucky, down by 2, they walk up. 10 seconds left. They hit a 3. And then Wright State walked back down, mid-range shot 2. Got it with like 4 seconds left. It was a wild ending to that game. But Wright State ended up winning in. They'll be going to the tournament. All right, bracketology will be tomorrow. Maybe some streams. And oh yeah, Delaware won. Yeah, they won too. Bryant looking good. Yeah, they did look good. San Diego State will be, I don't know, maybe. But yeah, that fight was nuts. Not between the players, between the fans. The fans were going at it. I'm telling you, those people from Staten Island, that's where Bryant and Wagner, I think they're both in Staten Island. I know Wagner is, but they were going at it, man. That was nuts. I'd imagine that there will be I'd imagine there will be some arrests. There has to be. Anyway, goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.